Very good to see you all here. It's a very special occasion for us to have our international president, Radha Burnier, here with us. It's been a few years now since she was last here at the national headquarters for the TS in America. And it's always a wonderful time when she does come. So had asked her if she would be willing to take time to talk to our staff and to our volunteers. Based on that, I thought it'd be a very good chance for you to get to actually see who is our international president, and also to have a little bit of time to have some questions and answers about things that you may have on your mind. So we're going to take advantage of that. But before we do, Radha, Ruben Kabigting, who you know quite well, has asked me to give you something which he has created in honor of your coming here. So I must do that now. So... And what it is, it's a likeness of you. You may recognize the lady in this picture.
Yes, somewhat.
So Ruben did this. He has labored on this for quite some time now, and so he wanted to present it to you. We will send it on to you at Adyar. You won't have to carry it in your suitcase.
No, I would rather not.
So Ruben, thank you. Where are you? There you go. Well, at this point, then I think I would just be happy to just turn it over to you, Radha, for whatever you might have to say.
Yes. As you probably know, I was here as long ago as 3 years. But I have been acquainted with this place for many, many years, probably more than any of you have done. As far as I remember, and my memory is not very good, the first president I met here, the national president, was Dora Kunz. And she was very active and very helpful in many ways. But since then, I have been coming off and on quite a number of times. And Ruben probably knows that I came, but he was one of the few who were here earlier times. I want to tell you that however long any of us may have worked in this society, I myself have worked about 60 years, but the society's own life is still longer. It was formed here in the United States. I don't remember exactly in which place, but it was a very small society at that time. A few people had gathered together, mostly Americans. And incidentally, Colonel Olcott said, why not we form a society and try to make the people of the world understand what are real things and what we should give our most attention to. And so the society was started here in 1875. And it has gone on and has spread all over the world. If you come to Adyar, as some of you might, there is a big board on the hall giving the names of the sections which came into existence because of their travels, mostly because of their travels. And the United States of America, of course, comes first, but it was not long afterwards that the Indian section came into existence. And it spread like wildfire in India. Even now, it has the biggest section because Theosophy is as ancient as India itself. And it has been known in India in some form or other from the earliest times. And America, United States, as you know, is very recent compared to that. But it has also spread in many parts of the country. We may mention here that from America, it went to England, and then when the founders came to India, they established the international headquarters there. They were looking for a place and traveled in India all over, from north to south and east to west. But no place that they saw actually appealed to them, although there were many places where they were welcomed, and Colonel Olcott traveled by himself without HPB because she couldn't travel everywhere. But it was an experience for them. And HPB, when she came to see the Adyar estate, it was just an estate. It was not called the Adyar estate. She said, this is the place. The masters would like the society's headquarters to be in this place. And so it came to be. At that time, it was not part of the city of Madras. It was on the south side of the Adyar River, and the city was on the north side. But today, the city has spread everywhere. As you know, the population of the world is increasing, especially on the eastern side. And so it has traveled far south of Adyar and has reached the places which we would never have thought of in those days. I was born in Adyar and grew up there. The society had a great attraction for members all over the world. I remember from my earliest days how important the society was in India and the world, because it was a worldwide population which became acquainted with Adyar in those days. I was a little child. My parents and my grandfather was a member of the society and knew the founders. And my parents were there from very early times. So I happened to be born there. And I remember being taken round in somebody's arms and seeing the first convention. I didn't know what was happening there, but I knew that there was something very important, because more than 2,000 people gathered there. Even today, 1,200 people is the minimum, and more come and join in on certain occasions. So it was a great thing, especially in those days when there was a clear division between the Western world, which was supposed to be very advanced, and the Eastern world, which was can't even say not even so advanced. It was considered very poorly. But in the society, no difference was made between East and West. This was a great thing in those days. It is no more great. Today in the United States, you find a lot of Eastern people, Africans, and so on. But it didn't happen in those days. The Indians had their food separately in an Indian restaurant. You won't believe it, but it happened in the Theosophical Society. And other people in another, in the common restaurant. But it was a great occasion whenever a convention took place, and it is even today, and perhaps some of you may have attended one of the conventions or will attend it. Then we had a great deal of contact with countries which have undergone very difficult times. For instance, Russia. Madame Blavatsky came from Russia. We owe a great deal to her and to her country. And today, 3 lodges have come up, which is a very nice thing after many, many years, because when the communist revolution took place in Russia, everything was closed down. The Theosophical Society didn't exist there anymore. And for years it didn't exist. But I went there, I can't remember what year it was, must have been about 15 or 20 years ago. And to my great surprise, I found in Moscow a gentleman who had been a member of the society even in ancient times. And he had pictures of the Mahatmas very carefully preserved and kept in his house. And he had been taking charge of them for some reason or other. And everything was closed. And even today this is happening in various places. For instance, in Pakistan, the society is almost closed. The only lodges which remain idle and inoperative, but still they remain in existence, are 2 lodges in Hyderabad, Sindh, and nearby. Karachi's the main, because there are many Parsis there. They have had a very difficult time. You must know that the people who had ideas which are very different from the Theosophists, certain of the Muslims, they tried to take possession of the big lodge building, the very nice place that the society has there and so on. But they did not succeed. The lodge building still exists, and there is a Montessori school. They keep it going because that is one way of preserving the place for the Theosophical Society. We hope that one day or another the society will become active again. There were enough lodges there to make a section. Perhaps some of you know that 7 lodges is the minimum that is necessary for a section to come into existence and to go on. And so this happens all the time, that some sections go out for some reason. Russia, they did not know that they would have to close down. In Pakistan, they did not know, and in some other places also, which I will not mention just now. But the society goes on. You can ask why. The society, membership becomes smaller and then it becomes larger, but the society as such remains active and alive in the world. And this is a symbol of the fact that the society has a work which needs to be done not in one place of the world, but in all the places of the world, so that certain ideals which are important for humanity and for all other creatures in the future will be sustained. And that is our duty. It is very often thought that the work of a lodge is for the locality, for a very small area and a few people round about. In a way it is true, but it is that and also the whole world, all the sections. I wonder how many here ever come to know what goes on in other sections in the world. Does the society remain alive? Do the ideals, the objects of the society mean something extremely useful to humanity as a whole? All these questions need to be answered by each one of us. We are not here to become members of the American section or the Indian section or the Australian section or whatever it is. We are here because we want the world to grow in a certain way. What is that way? A way where people will settle their differences by talking over things, by learning to do things together, even if there are differences among us. This is very important, and the first object of the society, the nucleus of universal brotherhood, has to be formed by all of us giving our hearts and minds to this thing, that people may be different, they may have been brought up differently, their customs may be different, but we are one people, we are humanity. And the animals, the birds, the other creatures will also grow into human beings. Therefore, they are human beings to be. They are not just creatures to be killed off whenever humans think of that. So that is the first object of the society, that all of us should have differences. Naturally, if we were all alike and had the same interest, it would be dreadful. We are different, but yet the same. We are one people from end to end of the earth. And this has to be achieved. And in order to achieve that, the society is, in my view, you may not agree with that, is being kept alive. Not all the members know that this is what the society exists. And we know that from time to time, different religions have come up, different groups of people with certain ideals have come up, but as long as it does not deny brotherhood, the brotherhood of all people, therefore universal brotherhood. They are in the right direction. And so this is very important. And the society is also taking people forward in another direction, which may be very important. That is the direction of new perspectives of life itself. We think we have everything under control. The best among us, the scientists, the most intellectual people, they think they know everything, but they don't know everything. Religion is pointing to certain things, and other ways exist of coming to certain ideas, but we are at a certain level, and we are going to rise to the level of unity, of brotherhood, and of many other things. In India, there are certain Vedic verses which are very important. One of them says, Satyam, truth. We are all going towards truth at the highest level, the truth about why people are here. We may think we know everything, but why are we here? Why are we in existence? To live for a few years, 100 years at the most, and then pass away, and the world goes on fighting and quarreling, and so as it does now. No, it is going to improve, irradiate the consciousness of human beings. That is what the society is for. So, that future, the fact that everything is according to some great laws, and we have to study those great laws. You may call these laws whatever you like, but it is so. But even scientists now recognize that there seem to be laws governing the entire universe, and nobody can say, I don't like this. If he says that, then he will be subdued and gradually taught that it is different. So the society has certain objects which are very far-reaching, which are very important, and we must keep that in mind. It is not a little society made up of the peoples of a few countries, but a forward-looking movement, a movement which is going to take people very far in the evolutionary path. And I think that it is very important for us to realize, and we must shape ourselves to that end, to keep our minds open, our hearts open, our friendship available to everybody. Only today or the day before, somebody was saying that so-and-so, if it doesn't come in to cooperation, must be put down and made to understand. You can't make people understand things, but you can help them to come to that by themselves. And there are many things like that which the human being can achieve, which he may not know of at present, but is very, very important. And all that is part of the work of the society, to create this feeling of cooperation, of goodness, of rightness, of trying to find the truth behind everything is part of our work. You know how many people now realize the importance of unity among human beings, many more than are to be found among the members of the society, but that is due to the work the society has done in the past and is continuing to do, although we don't deny the existence of other bodies which may also be doing something similar.
In our history books, we were taught about Mahatma Gandhi and his role in the independence of India from Great Britain. And we're aware of the Theosophical Society, their spiritual activities. Did they ever have a role politically, like in World War I or World War II, or the India independence?
No, it does not have a political role anywhere. Certain members may have a political role. They had a very important role when the independence of India was being worked for. But now India is suffering from various disabilities which it has created for itself, and Theosophists have really no role to play in the political life of the country.
I work in the publishing house, and we are always looking for good new books. And I want to ask you if you can give us any guidance about what subjects in particular you think it would be important to be publishing on now. You have mentioned universal brotherhood and new perspectives, and those are guiding principles that we're always aware of. But I wonder if you have anything more specific to suggest.
It is not possible, in my opinion, to mention a subject which is important for the society to put forward before people. And therefore, for a theosophical publishing house to follow that. But if we have to choose a subject, that is one subject, I would say unity, which seems somewhat dead. But the same thing as unity is brought to our mind when we use the word love, not in a physical, material sense, which is stupid, but in a real sense. A love which is given to everyone, whether he does wrong or right in our view. But if we think that he has done wrong, it may be possible to speak of it on certain occasions, in certain ways, which will help him to realize that it is wrong, that we need love at all times. This is not something new. Jesus Christ and so many other people have spoken about love. But love in its essence is the realization of the unity of all creatures, not only all human beings, but all creatures, even the smallest. And to realize it with one's heart, not talk of it because it is some idea which strikes the mind, is a very important part and should come out in the lives of members of the Theosophical Society.
Could you?
Two more questions. Maybe two more questions.
Could you talk a little bit about the work of the Society in India now and some of the things that it's doing?
What is it?
Could you talk a little about the work of the Society in India and some of the things that it's doing, for instance, at its headquarters?
You mean the Indian part of the society?
Yes, the Indian.
One of the important aspects of the work in India is the unity we talked about. It is a country which was divided in many ways by religion. You find almost all the religions represented in India. But do they understand each other? By caste, which at one time had to do with the job that a person was doing. And anybody could take up any work, and his caste was according to the work that he did. The relationship between the different peoples of the country is a big problem. So all these problems have to be dealt with from a theosophical point of view by the Indian society. It has a great work to do and a great tradition of doing the right thing which has been lost. But we try as far as possible to make members realize that they have to be different. People of my father's generation, he was president of the society, you know, for 20 years. But from his young age, from the time he left college, he began to feel that this whole system of dividing people by caste and religion was wrong. So he did not even use the word Shastri in his name. Shastri indicated a Brahmin of a particular class, but he did not use it. He made his name into Sri Ram. There were many theosophists who did that kind of thing. They changed their own lives according to theosophical ideas. So I am afraid that that feeling of renaissance, which means being born again, not in the normal sense, but in the real true sense, is very important in the Theosophical Society. And the Indian section is, I think, aware to some extent of this fact.
One more question, perhaps?
Could you tell us what is the work now of the Adyar Library as a research center, the library and archives.
Colonel Olcott started the Adyar Library with his own small but valuable collection, and that of HPB. And it has grown into a very large library, not large like the Library of Congress, because the Adyar Library does not gather in its fold the books which it thinks other libraries usually supply. Take, for example, fiction. There's a lot of fiction which is produced today, and there's a much demand for it. And every small library has some books of fiction. We don't go in for that. But books which have to do with our own conception of life, about higher ideals, etc. And that work of gathering together literature on the subject and making it available, and especially the old Sanskrit works which the average man cannot read, but which are made available by the Adyar Library through some of its publications and so on. That is the work which is being done there.